Did you use my mail app or use Gmail?
Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This morning we are going to practice few minutes loving kindness meditation. After the meditation, Chandana Bhikkhu is going to give a Dhamma talk. After that, question and answer and chanting. Now, Venerable Panyaloka is going to lead the Metta meditation.
We are going to practice the loving kindness meditation. Sit in a comfortable place. It could be on a chair, bed, or against a wall. Relax your bodies. Relax your minds. Let's begin loving kindness meditation by closing our eyes, experiencing the present moment. Reflect upon these loving kindness thoughts. May I be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May no problems come to me. May I always find fulfillment. May I also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May my teachers, all Dharma teachers, parents, brothers and sisters, friends and relatives, enemies, and all beings in the universe be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they always find fulfillment. May they also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May all beings in the universe be well, happy, and peaceful. May the sickness, evil, death loosen their grip and happiness be restored soon in the world. May all those who are suffering from COVID be healthy, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. With these thoughts, practice silent, loving kindness meditation for a couple of minutes. And when you hear the bell, open your eyes.
sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Venerable Panyaloka. Today our speaker is Chandana Bhikkhu. Before he starts his Dhamma talk, I want to mention few things regarding the service, Sunday service. We are going to continue through the Zoom this month and next month also. And we are planning to do the Vesak celebration around the month of the May. I am thinking May 23rd. Yes, May 23rd. We're going to do the Vesak celebration here. If anybody want to come participate, they can come. We are going to do through the health rules, practicing 6 feet and mask, everything. And basically, we're going to do the Givadana and Sangadana and lunch for the people also. It's going to be a 23rd May. So not yet confirmed, but maybe 70-80% confirmed. We'll see in future. Next Sunday, I believe the 18th, the Mexican American monks, Venerable Sanatha Bihari is going to give a Dhamma talk. And last Sunday of this month, how do you need to? Oh, Subodha is going to give a Dhamma talk. Okay, right now, Chandana Bhikkhu, you can start your Dhamma talk.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sangham saranang gacchāmi. Dear Sangha members, attendees, friends, the path of Lord Buddha, the one that the Lord Buddha delineated for us, the Dhamma, is about authentic living. Authentic living. Living truthfully. Of course, we have different gauges, different ways of understanding what truthful living is. Each of us. And for that, it is essential for us to revisit our understanding of the Dhamma by going back to the suttas, by going back to the discourses, where we find the teachings of the Buddha, because we are living at a time period where there's a lot of counterfeit Dhamma, fake Dhamma, what the Lord Buddha would call adhammas versus Dhammas. Whenever I look around and see the status of the world in general, and then also specifically just looking at the way the Dhamma has been developing or spreading at the cost of its so much actually being taken out, being dumbed down. The more I realize how much of a need there is for us to take a moment and to just investigate Investigation is one of the key attributes, characteristics of this path versus other religious paths. We need to be able to investigate, and investigate much more so than we investigate when we go to the supermarket to check the back of the item that we're about to buy. What's the nutritional facts on this item? How many calories does it have? How many grams of sugar? How many et cetera, saturated fats, all these things, carbs. We spend so much energy and time on choosing the color of our carpeting, of the paint to be used to, for the walls or something, for renovation and things. But when it comes to the Dhamma, I often see it turned into some type of a ritual that we come to, let's say, in this case, like it's once a week or something. Or I have students who do it, like meditation once a day, and that's done. Case closed. Let's move on and live our lives. Basically, live our lives as escape artists. Escape artists. So today's talk, I would love it, I intend for it to unfold in the form of an encouragement for us to kind of pull away from, or at least investigate this drive that we have to run away from authentic living and to live our lives as escape artists. What do I mean by escape artists? In the natural world, if you're living at sea level, we have approximately 14.7 psi pressure, basically 14.7 pounds of air pressure coming at us per square inch from all sides because of our proximity to sea level. Now, as we go higher and higher in elevation, that drops, that intensity. And of course, if we go lower and lower, the intensity drops. If we go into like a mining shaft or something like that, deeper into the earth. Why do I bring this up? Similar to the 14.7 psi pressure on us from all sides, we have something a lot more evil, if you will. Elements in the world, in existence, that are a lot more vicious, unforgiving. What I'm talking about are the defilements, the kileshas, that we have them in our hearts. Each of us do. Each of us. They involve greed, the first of which is greed, attachment, lusting after something. The second is aversion or hatred, the anger causing emotion, the presence of that seed. And then we have the delusion, which is the absence of wisdom, the absence of the investigation, quality of investigation, if you will. The one that says, it's okay. It's okay. That's not important right now. Well, I'm doing enough. I show up, I give some dana, we should be good once a week. It's a Zoom. I mean, come on, I don't even have to get into my car to drive to the temple anymore. So this is enough. And every once in a while during the day, I can go ahead and become mindful. Mindful. That's not going to cut it if we're talking about the path of the Buddha, because they are unforgiving, these defilements. And their intensity does not change. It doesn't become less on its own or on their own. as the quality of our practice becomes deeper, as our understanding of our practice becomes deeper, then we have the weaponry to face them, because these are the most vicious enemies that we can ever encounter. The enemy is not outside. The enemy is not the virus. Today's flavor of this year or last year is the virus, but we always are going to have something out there, right? To engage our attention. So I want to highlight that a little bit. Many times we forget that the Dhamma was not taught by Lord Buddha to dead people. The Dhamma is not for dead people or dead beings, those who are no longer here. Nor is it for those who are not yet here, not born yet. Dhamma is only for those beings who are alive. When? Now. So not in the past, not in the future, now. So Dhamma is engaged. It can't be otherwise. Hence, my emphasis that the Dhamma is not something ritual-based, ritualistic, sets of ceremonies, this and that, routine, like, yeah, you do this, you do that, there's some things here you could do and you're good to go. No. And oftentimes, you know, when people hear, well, it's not about the past, it's not about the future, so therefore it's about the present. So let me be in the here and now. Since the 60s in the West, we've been talking about, Buddhism is often characterized as, oh, it's about here and now. Not much is offered after that. Well, remember earlier I was mentioning how each of us have our own ways of interpreting what is authentic living. Similarly, here, in the here and now, oh, I could be just indulging in what the six senses bring to me, the pleasures that this body could bring to me while alive at this point in my life. I could be in the here and now, and you had many, many gurus and Buddhist teachers, in fact, promoting that kind of lifestyle. Yes, suck the juice out of every moment. Be there, take it from life, and be mindful while you're doing that. Remember the 14.7 psi? The defilements are very cunning. Hence, the level of understanding of the Dhamma allows us to see and pierce through and understand what is Dhamma, what is not Dhamma. And that responsibility lies on each of our own shoulders, no one else's. No one can be blamed for that, ultimately, except for the person who has missed out. Missed out. Because oftentimes we live in the past or in the future. We're not here because it's uncomfortable being here. We look at the body and we realize that it's always changing, especially now. With all these factors coming in, the fears, and everybody is being kind of corralled into protecting this thing, this body, as if it's not going to change at all. Well, it is destined to be disintegrated. Disintegrated. We all know that. But that's not how we live. We're worshiping the body. We're protecting it to ridiculous. We go to ridiculous lengths nowadays to protect it, while the treasure room, the most secret, the most sacrosanct part of our lives is left with its doors open because we've skipped a scene. Mindfulness is not there. Remember the weapons I mentioned briefly? We need weapons to fight against the defilements. And this path is a lot about fighting, because we're running away from facing our fears, our ignorance, the delusion. The defilements will never, ever go without a fight. We cannot sweet talk our way out of it. We cannot bribe them. And the way that we are excellent escape artists is by giving in to what these six sense doors give us, whether it's visual objects that entice us, things that we hear, music, etc., pleasant sounds, soft, beautiful, loving textures, flavors that are delicious to the tongue, to the nose, smells, fragrances, and especially concepts, thoughts, assumptions, memories, dreams. And that is the sixth of the six senses, which is the mind. Meanwhile, the two guards that are necessary to be there to protect ourselves, really, are sati and panya. Sati is mindfulness. Mindfulness that's on it. It's like turning on the light and the darkness is gone. And panya, the wisdom, is the ability to see and identify what needs to be where, or whether something does not need to be there in that space, in that person's life, in this case. So the more a person becomes mindful, they start to identify aspects of their personality and characteristics that are in fact unwholesome, that bring you down, that eventually get you to have remorse, that make you feel regret, or at the very least create anxiety in you or in your body, because the body never lies. It locks those emotions that have been unresolved. And so long as we are running after these six senses, the objects that they offer, nothing is being resolved, because it's just a matter of time. We're just using this body to its max until the day comes where we need to drop it. It won't work. It won't function. The eyes don't work. The taste buds don't work. The body definitely will break down and won't be able to move as it did. Disintegration of the body. So we do not meditate for the sake of the body, but we use the body nevertheless. That is the skillful means in this Dhamma, to be able to understand the world, to face it, authentically living it, and understanding what's what, instead of deluding ourselves in saying, I'm going to protect my body, while I become a slave to it. As I convince myself that I'm living in the moment, in the present moment. Et voila, you have Buddhism, which is anything but Buddhism, because it is counterfeit Dhamma. The Dhamma becomes alive in your life. That's the only place. In your heart, that's the only place. The defilements are found in only one place, in your heart. The Dhamma is found in your heart. Nobody else's. So however authentically you're living in the presence of mindfulness, that's the level of wisdom that you're also going to be making available for yourself. How? Because you'll be able to see anicca, dukkha, anatta, the tilakkana, the three characteristics of existence. You no longer will be able to run away from it. You see it. You're like, oh, I see it. I don't have to deny myself the fact that I am getting old. Things are changing around me. Oh, okay. And there is suffering in life. That's another thing. In today's age, we sugarcoat everything, including running away from suffering, as if that is how we're supposed to gain wisdom and insight. No one's been able to run away from suffering, ever. But we still are engaged in, that is the pursuit that we have. In every culture you go, everybody's trying to run away from some type of suffering, as if it's the worst thing that can happen. The Buddha didn't say go to suffering and spend some time there, book a flight to suffering. No, don't worry. Suffering is going to come and fall in your lap. Nibbana, however, will not fall into our laps. It requires effort. It requires work. The Dhamma requires work. It requires engagement. Anyone who comes to you and says, yes, do these things and you're going to have Nibbana. Follow these rituals, you're going to have it. Say these many mantras, this many prostrations, things like that. No. It requires work. What type of work? Going into yourself, into your heart, and understand it. Understand our role in perpetuating ignorance. Our ignorance, no one else's. That's why when the world offers us so many avenues of engagement with the world to try to fix things in the world, guess who's at work? Remember those three enemies? Lobha, dosa, moha, the three defilements? They're very, very sneaky and they never rest. They never take a time out or time off or go on a vacation or a sick day. None of that. They never rest. Meanwhile, the body is getting older and older and older and older. And we're continuing to stay victims and victims and victims and victims to these three. So authentic living that the Buddha introduced to us was a way to face up to these things and in a mature fashion. That's why the Dhamma, if you go back to its source and see how the Buddha taught it, it is a mature position towards what is taking place. Nowhere do you see the Dhamma being advocated or taught in a way where it is running away from suffering. The first of the Four Noble Truths is the not only admission, but acknowledgement that there is dukkha, there is dissatisfaction, there is the sense of suffering, of not being enough, not being satiated, this huge hole in one's heart that never gets to be filled, despite all our efforts. So in order for us to live authentically, we need to look at what's what. And not look at ourselves as being on the receiving end of the world. No. That pretty much takes the control out of our hands, the choice out of our hands. And already life is such even in the most sophisticated, so-called cultured, civilized societies in today's world, we don't have choices. It's a delusion. We're being corralled. Wherever they want us to move, that's where we're headed. But at least here, in this domain, in the choices that we can make as to where the attention can go next, our attention, my attention, that we have control over. Sati is in your hands. So once lived like this, then the outside circumstances can also bring us closer to what the Buddha was teaching. And by doing so, we get closer to understanding our role in perpetuating unwholesome kammas, unwholesome actions that bring about unwholesome results, outcomes. And by doing so, becoming more cognizant as how we are unfolding our days, starting from the moment we wake up. As a therapist, I would say to my patients, just go ahead and smile. The first thing you do in the morning, you need to smile. Well, why? Doesn't matter. Just smile. Just start the day with a smile, even if your eyes are still shut, but you're awake. That brings in an uplifted state of mind. That also brings in mindfulness, because it allows the person to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable in the here and now. That is the proper here and now we talk about in the Dhamma, because the person is not latching on to the grief-stricken memories of past disappointments, or worrisome nightmares of what is to come in the future, what ifs. Instead, you just drop those, you just allow those to vaporize, and then you just stay here. And that gives you the legitimacy to live in this life authentically, coming from your heart, which is based on the Dhamma. And as a foundation, here is where it is absolutely essential to have morality. Absolutely. To live a virtuous life in this very confused time period where even the word morality is very ugh. We need to drop the Judeo-Christian ways of understanding or approaching the word morality and look at it as a purifier of one's own heart, because it is a protection. You're protecting the gates. You're protecting the walls of your domain so that no leakage happens. No rats and infestations and pests could come in. No enemies could penetrate. So we practice sila to protect ourselves and those around us. And if you do not believe in the value of morality or of sila or virtue, and you say that's so passé, go ahead and sleep tonight with your car door unlocked. Open, actually, the windows down, or your house door unlocked. Open it. Let your loved ones go with total strangers. You get my point. We have limitations as to what is allowable, what is not. Well, that is applying discipline. That is applying virtue to have a safe, protected life. But we never care about what's happening to the mind, to the heart, ours. And that is where the Dhamma can grow. So it is essential for us to bring the attention back to us, living beings, and using the body to go beyond the body. In this path, we don't hate the body. We use the body. We understand the body. After all, the Buddha says, and his disciples say, yesterday we did a sutta study on this with Venerable Sariputta. And the Buddha always said the value of directing mindfulness back to the body is the way to the deathless. We're not punishing ourselves. We're trying to understand, which is a huge different thing. We investigate. And we know that we cannot rely on the body because it's changing. But we can use the body to understand the three characteristics of existence: anicca, impermanence; dukkha, suffering; and anatta, insubstantiality, or the non-identification, because things are constantly changing. There is no self, there is no soul, there is no being as such, which the conventional mind does not like, which the world of advertisement does not like. The defilements definitely don't like. Hence, we've become escape artists to run away from these three. So bringing the attention back to the body allows us to become realistic, mature, understanding, and playful and curious, fun. Suddenly everything around us becomes 3D. We really enjoy looking at the trees, at life. Because now there's a depth to it, there's an authenticity for the first time in many cases. So I will pause here and open for questions. Venerable Shanti? I can't see hands, so I would like it if you could just jump on in, unless there's another protocol.
Thank you for the talk.
Yes.
I like the last point you made, which was have fun, enjoy it. I keep thinking of the laughing Buddha or the Dalai Lama. Whenever he's talking about the Dhamma, he is always laughing, because after all, we're just human and we have defilements and we have problems, and all our job is to become aware of them and say, oh yeah, well, I didn't do that very well. And I think that last point was really important. Just be able to bring yourself to a point where you can enjoy your existence. You haven't burdened it with a defilement that can come our way. Thank you.
I'm glad you highlighted that, underlining it, fun part. And oftentimes we forget that having sati or mindfulness is like having such encounters constantly. I mean, I have fun during the day. We're so weird, each of us, in our own ways. There's so many idiosyncrasies that we have. And the way that the defilements penetrate into our daily activities and behaviors and belief systems, that's another thing. Our limited self-limitations that we construct and conjure up and defend at all costs, by the way. No. I can't do that. Well, why? Why exactly can't I do that? And the way our thoughts are organized, it's just a deck of cards piled up on top of each other. And there's a fun element, absolutely. It's if you've ever, I mean, we've all been kids at one point. When we look at children playing, they're so real, they're so there. And where I'm staying, there's a group of kids that run around, and the atmosphere is so juicy around them, so much color, and they cannot help but live authentically. Hence, the Buddha's insistence on coming back to the body, directing mindfulness to the body, because the body never lies. Today's therapeutic methodologies, they keep coming up with the same thing that the Buddha declared 26 centuries ago. In trauma patients, for example, that's the thing that they highlight a lot. Trauma gets captured in the body. But what we do is we suppress it. We become serious. The fun element goes out the window. So bring in sati, bring in mindfulness. Guess what? You're never going to find a gloomy arahant. The Buddha said so many times, we are the happy ones in the Dhammapada. So thank you for that. Any other thoughts? Again, I apologize, but I can't see hands. It's in the speaker mode, so if you could just jump in. oftentimes it's important to repeat the necessity of being exposed to the right influences. Unfortunately, we're living in a time period where the influences that we're exposed to, the factors that we're exposed to, are damaging the central nervous system. The limbic system is under attack, and there's so much pressure on each and every one of us, and children even today are being affected by that. So this is, we need to kind of separate ourselves from the news, for example, the negative information that comes in. And yes, to be educated about what's going on is one thing, but to be overwhelmed by it is quite another. And always checking in with the body allows us to see how much anxiety I'm keeping with myself as I go to bed, for example. So instead, my recommendation would be to go and read the suttas, read the words of the Buddha, just to get your mind off of things. And also to kind of anchor ourselves on, okay, what is it that I'm practicing? Because we don't have, all of us, the luxury of being with a living, breathing teacher guiding us. That's a luxury most of us don't have. But at least we can be privy to what did happen, whether it's through listening to the suttas, reading the suttas, going to hear Dhamma talks. And today, YouTube, thank you for all these resources available. So I wanted to just put that there. Were there any other questions before I pass the mic to Bhante? Shanti?
Looks like there are no more questions. Thank you, Chandan, again. I hope to see you soon in next month or sometime in future. Thanks again. So right now we are going to chant page 4 and page 10. That's the last program. So we're going to chant page 4 and page 10. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. Sentient beings are numberless, I vow to save them all. Deluding persons are inexhaustible, I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are limitless, I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme, I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief. Nendi dukang poka unadi nyaidang dusung sangye nyaidang tai padam. Nendi dukang poka
Chusung Sangye Nyai Kong Sadpadam Neng Di Du Kong Boka Unyati Nyai Dang Chusung Nyai Dang Sadpadam Mani Padme By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, you all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.